I'm sad and unhappy.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, hi, my name is Sarah and it's nice to meet you. If you saw the title of this video, you know what it's about. It's about how I got arrested for arson, which is kind of a funny story, but it's actually not funny. But it's, I'll just get into it and explain what happened. So it was Halloween night, and I was trying to cop from one of my friends that I used to smoke with. Like, we used to smoke together after school. We'll call him Peter. He's a cool guy, and I'd always cop from him, and he would always want me to hang out. But for some reason, I decided, okay, why not? Hi, before we get into this juicy video, I just want to say a big thank you to Dossier because they were kind enough to send me a few of their perfumes, and I'm going to talk to you today about Floral Berries. I think this one is one of my new favorites because this one smells really, really sweet, and it's got like that kind of not too overbearing smell, and I really, really like it. And one spritz is like good enough for you, so these will last a long, long time, which is why I love getting these perfumes because they last so long and you don't have to wear the same ones every day. You can like switch it up and smell different from time to time. It's got the top notes that it has are peony, red apple, berries. The middle notes are rose, carnation, jasmine. And the base notes are suede, accord, and musk. I really like this one. It's very, very affordable. All of their perfumes are highly affordable. You don't have to spend top dollar to smell expensive and fancy. I know there are a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to get Bath and Body Works anymore. I know I can't use Bath and Body Works. I'm allergic to it. It makes me break out in hives. So, and this is vegan and cruelty free, which is why I really love their perfumes. Like I said before, their perfumes are highly affordable, and this one only costs $29, which is insanely cheap. It's less than half the price that you could pay in any of the high-end fancy smanchy stores. And also I'm gonna give you guys a code obviously to use on this. You can use Sarah Alyssa 10. I'll have the code right up here for you guys, Sarah Alyssa 10, and you can get 10% off of your purchase. So the next time that you decide to get another Dossier perfume, just remember to use my code SarahAlyssa10. And I think this is a really, really great one for all of my ladies out there that want to smell sweet and nice, maybe for a job interview. I know this is what I'm going to be wearing on mine, so I have an interview this Sunday. So yeah, thank you to Dossier once again. I hope you guys enjoy this video. And another mutual friend of ours, let's call her Daisy, was coming too. So I was like, this is fine, this is okay, because I was really good friends with Daisy. She and I used to sesh together all the time before the pandemic started. So Peter picks me up, and when I get in the car, I see Daisy in the passenger seat. I'm like, okay, she's already here. Like, I didn't know he knew where she lived, but I guess obviously she told him. So we're going to cop from his guy because apparently he has nothing. So we get to his house in like a sketch ass neighborhood. It's dark with like one flickering street light, and I'm immediately like, what the fuck? But I'm like, you know what, he's our friend, he wouldn't put us in a dangerous situation. And he tells us to wait in the car and don't leave or make any noises, which made me be like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be here. So like 10 minutes go by and he comes back and we drive off. I ask what park we're going to, and he said he doesn't remember the name. So now I'm annoyed, and Daisy doesn't seem fazed at all by anything that's happened so far. Like, she's just chilling. I'm already looking for the exit, and I'm ready to tuck and roll my ass out of this car. I'm trying to look at her in the mirror to give her a signal that I'm gonna dip, but she's not even concerned. Like, she's off in her own world. She's taking selfies, not really questioning anything. So I assumed she knew where we were going. But then he asked me to check his phone on the GPS after getting lost, and I see where we're supposed to be going, and it's a park I've been to a bunch of times. And I'm like, you know what? I was tripping, I be getting paranoid sometimes. And so he says, let's stop at a gas station so I can get some papers and get something to drink. He asked us both if we wanted anything, and I was like, a Gatorade. And this bitch Daisy said, I want a Four Loko. I said, a Four Loko, bitch, you're already loco enough. You don't need that. But I'm like, you know what? It's Halloween. Fuck it, Halloween is my Christmas. So she goes, you should get one too. I'm like, no thanks. And she keeps insisting that I get one. I'm like, okay, you know what, I'll try it, but I don't drink. So he goes inside and gets the drinks and some papers. He gets 3-4 locos. And I'm like, if we're all drinking, who's going to be the designated driver? He's like, relax, I'm not drinking. I'm like, okay. We get to the park, he's rolling up. And she's like, are you excited for tonight? And I'm like, I guess. I mean, same shit, different day with me. Like, you know, minus the drinking part. And she opens her can and she starts drinking, and we're sitting on these swings smoking and talking, and all of a sudden Daisy gets the idea, like, oh, let's walk around the neighborhood and smoke and drink. And I'm like, you know, it's dark as fuck out here and I don't know this neighborhood 100%. She goes, it's fine, I used to live here. And at this point she's slurring her words and laughing a lot and talking really loudly. I'm like, okay, whatever, maybe a walk would be good. So Peter starts drinking the Four Loko, and I'm like, what the fuck, you cannot be drinking right now. And he's like, I've drunken so many of these, I can handle it. I'm like, okay, you know what, I can catch a ride with Daisy and this motherfucker can stay here or catch a bus at this point, because fuck that, I'm not driving with no drunk driver. So we're walking around and talking about shit that happened in school, reminiscing. She gets a call from who I assume is her boyfriend. They're fighting and going off, and she's cursing at the top of her lungs. And I'm like, oh my God, please hang up or be quiet, because someone might call the cops. Like, I've had this exact situation happen to me where somebody was being too fucking drunk and loud, and I got in trouble for it. So she hangs up, calls him a piece of shit or whatever, and then we keep walking around. All of a sudden, I'm like feeling crossfaded, like it just hit me, and I was stumbling and walking like really weird, like I felt like I couldn't walk straight, and I was trying to keep my composure because I didn't know what could happen, so I didn't want to seem like an easy target. And I look at Daisy, and she has like the tiniest little pupils, and I'm looking at her, and it's kind of scared me because I've never really seen her like that. And she's laughing, and we're holding hands walking, you know, kind of trying to keep each other straight. Pause. And we stop at this house, this nice ass house, and Peter's like, I'm gonna have a house like that one day, and I'm gonna make Daisy my girl, and you gonna live with me. I'm like, ew. And she's giving him flirty eyes, and I'm thinking she's playing, you know. And we start walking back because I'm like, I want to go sit down. We go back to the park, we sit down, and she takes a picture with him, like giving him a kiss on the cheek. I'm like, whatever, she's just being goofy, you know, like we're all a little faded. All of a sudden I hear ding, 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 like notification after notification. I'm like, damn, you're famous. Like, that's my joke. I always say that when people are getting a lot of messages. Like, she knows that because I say that enough. Peter goes, don't be mad because she badder than you. And then he starts listing off all my imperfections, or in his words, things I need to work on, like a bigger ass and a flatter stomach. And at this point, he's slurring his words and just being an overall fucking bitch. And I'm so high, I kind of don't really care at this point. And I'm not attracted to him, so it was no big deal. But Daisy is laughing her ass off. And I'm like, you know what? She's faded, so it's probably just really funny to her. Like, I keep ignoring these red flags throughout the night, and that's something that I won't ever do it again. Like, with people that I think are close to me, it's like after 10 o'clock at this point, and I'm like, I kind of want to go home because my social battery is empty at this point. I text her on the low, and I'm like, I want to go home. Can your boyfriend or sister give us a ride? She looks at me and goes, why are you texting me? Say it out loud. I'm like, really, bitch? Like, I hate when people do that shit. Like, clearly there's a reason I texted you on the low. Like, and she goes, let's hang out. I'll buy you food. Don't worry. And I go, okay, because I haven't seen this girl in a while and I missed her. And we don't barely ever see each other that much. So she's like, I'll order food and I'll have them bring it here. Now I'm really like, okay, that's a good idea considering our driver is fucking drinking now. She acted like she was going to order the food, and then she calls her boyfriend, and he's going off asking her where she is and why is she with another guy. And I'm having one of those moments where like everything is in slow motion and I'm kind of just there. It's crazy because I'm like, he seems so nice, and they play like they're this happy couple for IG, but here they are cursing at each other. And after like 10 minutes of arguing, I'm getting really fucking annoyed. Like, her vibes are just fucking up everything. And I'm sitting there drinking my Four Loko, not even thinking, oh, this is alcohol or whatever the fuck they put in that can. Like, it tastes like soda, so I just kept drinking it. And I wasn't really feeling anything, so I guess I forgot. All of a sudden, this bright light comes flashing at us. This car just speeds into the parking lot, and the person in there is just blasting music, and I feel my stomach drop because I'm like, whoever is in that car must be really angry, and if so, why are they pulling up here? She gets up and runs to the car, and I'm like, what the fuck, where are you going? I'm grabbing her arm, telling her to come with me, let's leave, because whoever is in there is clearly bad news. And she shrugs and she pushes me away and runs towards the car, and then it clicks. I'm like, oh, this is her boyfriend. He gets out of the car and she's trying to explain we're her friends, and he's not listening. I'm just waiting for him to throw a punch so all three of us can jump him. They're fighting, and he sees Peter and goes to fight him. She's holding him back, and I'm holding Peter back, and I'm yelling, trying to de-escalate the situation. I'm standing there, and I start to think, wait, how did he know we were here? I'm like, I feel like I would have heard her say something. All of a sudden, he calms down like a switch has been turned off or something, and she's kissing him, and they're making out or whatever. They walk around to like this play area, and I'm like, I'm not gonna follow. I'm gonna give her space, because I'm like, I figure they want to talk some more. So I'm sitting with Peter, and I'm thinking, how am I gonna get home? How is Peter gonna get home? And he keeps talking about how much he wants to fuck Daisy. I'm like, well, she has a boyfriend, one that's like literally 10 feet away from you, so maybe that's not something you should be saying. And then he starts yelling and going off at me. I go to the swings, and all of a sudden I hear this weird ass screeching sound. I'm scared. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I go to the play area to tell Daisy and her boyfriend, because I'm like, we need to get the fuck, period. Okay? It's dark. I can't see too much. As I'm getting closer, I see her giving him a PJ without the P and with a B. Okay? I walk away, and now I'm really like, okay, I want to go home. And she's the type of friend that's always putting me in these situations. At this point, I would call my dad, but so I'm fucked. And they come back, and he's like, sorry, bro. And he dabs Peter up, and I'm like, ew, your hands probably have man on them. So he's like, let's go to that old church and take IG photos. I'm like, what about the food? Aren't you hungry? She's like, well, I'll come back and eat after. It'll be like a mukbang. And I said, all right, for maybe like the 100th time that night. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to feel tipsy. And I remember I drank the Four Loko, which I'd only ever had once or twice, and it was just like a sip or two. This time, I drank most of it, which I admit was not a good idea. And we get to this church, and we're inside, and it's dark in there. He gets his lighter and is lighting some candles he found in there. She walks up to the altar, and he's snapping pics. I'm barely standing. I'm like on one knee at this point with my flashlight on my phone, shining it around her face for the pictures. Like, I'm that friend. I fall over. I can barely get my ass up. Everyone is laughing at me. No one is really concerned at all. So they get up to where I'm guessing the pastor gives his sermon. Like, they get up to the front of the church, and he's like feeling her up, and they're just being really ew. So Daisy and her boyfriend both finish her Four Loko, and he crushes the can like a dumb frat boy on his forehead. He comes down the aisle, looks at me laying on the floor, and says, that's where you'll always be. She laughs, okay? And Peter laughs, and it's making me feel anxious, because I'm like, dude, I barely even know you. Keep in mind, this is the first time I've physically met him, okay? It's weird she's not defending me. And he starts walking around, trashing the place, and she's loving it, eating it up, taking videos of him going crazy. So this idiot is like, what if I burn this place down? Will you still love me? And they're kissing, and I'm thinking, he's really not gonna do anything. And I'm slipping in and out of consciousness at this point, because I drank a fucking Four Loko, and I smoked like a blunt or two. And these dummies are knocking over the candles, and one of the candles catches fire on a curtain. I'm barely able to stand up. I'm trying to crawl, but I just keep passing out. And you know when you're really drunk, and like every time you blink your eyes, time has passed? It's like every time you blink, like time moves forward. I don't know, it was kind of like that. Like, I wake up and the whole church is ablaze, and I'm like, there's no fucking way this is happening to me right now. And I get the feeling you get when you want to vomit and shit yourself at the same time. I'm crawling out of the church, and I don't even see them. They just ran out and didn't even try to help me. I crawl outside. My arms and legs are basically numb at this point. I'm barely trying to pin myself up against a rail or a gate if I can find one. Mind you, it's dark as fuck, besides the billowing fire behind me, and I'm walking and I'm trying to get myself as far away from the church as I can. I'm calling for Daisy, I'm yelling for Peter, and they're nowhere to be found. I'm lost and disoriented, and all of a sudden I hear sirens and I'm in fight or flight mode. I start running and I don't even know where I'm going, but I'm just like, I need to get out of here before the cops or whoever comes. I'm panicking. I'm thinking a million things at once, like, why did this bitch just dip and leave me? And I didn't eat anything. I can't run anymore, so I just fall down and pass out again. I wake up and 2 cops are shining a bright ass light in my face, and all of a sudden like 5 or 6 more cop cars pull up and they're all surrounding me with their guns drawn. They're asking me stuff, but I'm too like in shock and out of it to answer fast enough, or at least give an answer they like. So 2 cops pin me down and they hand like face down in the dirty ass grass, and they have my wrists and legs and they handcuff me and drag me to the squad car. I pass out and I wake up again and I'm in a room for questioning, and 1 cop asked me, why did I burn down the church? And I said I didn't burn the church down, or at least that's what I thought I said to them, and I guess it sounded like gibberish. They put me in an ambulance and they sent me to the hospital, and this nurse gives me something in a tube and it's shooting through a needle, and I'm in so much shock I can't fight it, so I just like let them give me whatever they're giving me. I'm no doctor, but I wouldn't give drugs to somebody that is clearly intoxicated. I think they thought I was having a mental fit or something. I woke up in the hospital with a cop in the room questioning me, asking me what happened. I'm sober enough at this point, and I basically tell them I was drugged and kidnapped and don't remember anything that happened after I was kidnapped. He says, you can go away for a long time for arson. And I said, but officer, I didn't set anything on fire and I didn't break any laws. He's like, well, when the doctor comes in, they can confirm if you've been drugged or not. And I'm freaking out on the inside because I'm like, why has this year been so terrible? And now this is just the way to end it. I don't have my phone on me, but the cops ask me to give a description of the man. I do, because I'm not going to jail for a white man, and I'm certainly not taking the blame for something I didn't do. I give a description of Daisy's boyfriend. I tell him I was at a Halloween party and I had 1 drink and somebody may have slipped me something. The doctor comes back and says, I think you should do a rape kit. She said I tested positive for 2 unspecified substances, one of them being Molly, which is what I know now because, well, I'll get to that later. Now I'm like, I must be tripping because I made that shit up, and now I'm replaying the whole night in my head, and I still do to this day, and I'm like, how could I have been drugged and not noticed? And then I was thinking, wait a minute, did Peter slip me something when I wasn't looking? And now I'm thinking, wait a minute, was something in the joint? Like, it's all very, very confusing. They call my emergency contact, which is my dad. No answer. They ask if I have any other relatives. I say none that live here. I got discharged early and they took me to the station. I gave my story and I took this mugshot. Tell me why the cop interviewed me was the same cop I knew from a different time. They ask if I know where anyone is. I say no. Whoever took me must have ran off. Fast forward, I get put on a 24-hour hold. If you don't know what a 24-hour hold, it's when you are, well, it can be very different depending on what state you live in. But basically, it's where you have to stay at your home for 24 hours and you're not allowed to leave and go anywhere. So I'm released. I get my phone back, which I don't know how they found it, but they gave it to me. And surprisingly, no messages from Daisy. None. I'm calling her and she's not picking up. I text her and I'm like, what the fuck happened? Your dumbass boyfriend put me in jail and Peter drugged me. And she just texts me back, what? LMAO. So I FaceTime her and she finally answers after like a fucking hour, and she's saying she was calling my phone and looking for me, and I go, okay, so why didn't I get any missed calls, and why would you just leave me passed out on the ground? She goes, why are you like this? I'm like, bitch, I was just in jail. Like, I had the most traumatic experience ever of my life. So she has the fucking audacity to hang up on me. I'm texting her. I'm not even sure what happened. I think she was planning some of this shit with Peter or something. And I text Peter and he's like, y'all need to leave me out of your shit. And I'm like, what happened after y'all abandoned me? He said, I don't know, I just went home. I'm like, nah, me and her need a box one-on-one. And she's on Instagram being shady as fuck and making posts talking about bitches can't hold their liquor, which is funny because a year ago she wouldn't have even touched alcohol or weed, and now she's sniffing that cocaine, that zaza, you know. I'm messaging her and I lie and say, I told the police you and your boyfriend were there. All of a sudden she's answering my messages now and calling me, and I answer and she's talking mad shit. I said, if you have a problem, we can go one-on-one because you're a fake ass bitch, which she was. What she did was very fucking awful and fake. She's talking about jumping me. I said, of course you would, because you're scared and can't fight your own battles. She's the type of person that expects people to do stuff for her all the time. Like, she's very, like, full of herself, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I can pull up right now. What's up? Like, she's talking about my family is here. I'm like, so they can watch. And we live in the same area. A little bit too close. So I'm DMing her on Instagram because I guess she blocked my number at this point. And I'm like, okay, let's meet up at this park and we're gonna fight here. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm pulling up. And of course she doesn't show up. Not surprised. And she's on IG Live talking about what happened and lying about what she fucking did, of course. And she removed all the photos of her and her boyfriend off Instagram. I'm like, so all of that and y'all still broke up again? And he DMs me and is going off and threatening me, and I block him because I'm not with his bullshit. Like, bitch, you did what you fucking did. You're going to jail. No, you're going to prison, okay? He DMs me and is going off and threatening me, whatever. Don't ask me why I have trust issues, please, because there's something about these Aquariuses. Like, they're fun, but they're mad crazy. I'll make a part 2 on the situation if anyone wants it, but that's basically what happened. The case is still pending. I actually have a court date, like, in a few months to go to. Like, it's a real serious thing, you know. I just want this shit to be over with. I'm trying to focus on my makeup, trying to focus on my brand, you know, getting some money because your girl is poor. I need a car. I need my own place, you know. I miss sleeping in my own bed. Like, I took sleeping in my own bed for granted. But that's what I'm trying to, like, deal with right now. And obviously, I can't afford a lawyer, so I'm kind of fucked. I'm just working with what evidence I have at the moment. All of this is alleged, of course. Allegedly. But my thing is like, me and you we're close. We're supposed to be really good friends, and you're over here doing this fraudulent, fake ass shit. And when I think about the night, like, I really do think that she set me up. Like, her and Peter probably set me up to get drugged. I don't know if their plan was something even worse, but yeah, those test results came back and showed what was in my fucking system. My advice to you is don't drink and drive. If one of you is intoxicated, don't leave the other. Both of you just go get some damn food like you said you were going to do. And if something doesn't feel right or you have a bad feeling, just go with your gut. Always trust your gut. And if your best friend leaves you to die in a burning church, good luck, Charlie. I just want to say a quick thank you guys so much for watching this video and staying to the end. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening to my story. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at sarahtherapper. If you guys like more of my story times, I'll definitely do more of those because I have a lot. My life is fucking insane. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and you hit the bell so you never miss a notification.
Favorite Nirvana song? Black Hole Sun. That's my favorite one. I love that song. Jeremy's walking.
Oh, and wait, before you go, I just want to let you guys know that I make socks and arm warmers. I sell them for $10 a pair. I do different colors and designs. I make them custom. So if you guys would like to support a small black business, please go to the link. It's going to be in my bio, or you can go on my Instagram. I'll also have the link in my bio to purchase. So thank you guys so much, and if you want to donate, here's my Cash App and PayPal. I love you guys so much, and I'm sending you love and light as always.